stars hear our whispers, set unto the night sky. Will our wishes be poured from a well that runs dry? A dream solely built upon the blaze of every breath, a spark held within a hope, burning bright within our chest. I close my eyes and listen clear. I hear something sing. It's the echoes of dreams soaring on breath's wings. Have you ever dared to look up and feel the pulse of the night sky? Have you ever held onto a breath to remind you you're alive? A dream is solely built upon the blaze of every breath, a spark held within a hope, set as the truth within our chest. We are living a life that was once thought out of reach, a dream on which the truth held in the hearts of each. Entangled in the stars is a hope that defies. The spark that fuels hope's flame comes from every breath inside. Inside, I place my hand over my heart. I feel it sing. The rhythm of life to each breath I cling. Be brave enough to free those dreams unto the stars. It's because you're still believing you're alive despite these scars. A dream is solely built upon the blaze of every breath, a spark held within a hope. It begins within your chest.
Hey everyone, I'm Joe Armenti. I'm 33 years old. I have CF. I'm on the board of the New Jersey chapter of the CF Foundation. Welcome to the breathing experience. That was Blaze of Every Breath by the Singspire Virtual Choir, founded by none other than Ashley Ballou-Bonnema. And yes, your eyes do not deceive you. I am one of the choir participants. Ashley is a professional vocalist joining us tonight from Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Welcome to Jersey. She's the head of a private voice studio and founder and executive director of Breathe Bravely, a nonprofit organization dedicated to giving voice to cystic fibrosis. As an adult with CF, Ashley's a passionate advocate for our community, both nationally and globally, and she created Breathe Bravely's flagship program, Singspire, an innovative approach to contending with CF through the art of singing. Welcome, Ashley. It's great to have you on the program.
Hi, it's so wonderful to be here. Thank you so much for allowing me to be your first guest.
You are very welcome. So everyone should know, Ashley is my voice instructor. And so she has the unfortunate pleasure of listening to me screech every week, but she somehow turns it into some masterful thing.
Joe, again, I
Thank
think
you.
you sell yourself very short. So I think I am the lucky one every single week that you have to put up with me as your teacher. So
I agree. I know I'm very good. I'm just being humble for the viewership.
I know that's one of your best qualities. So obviously the people know that, and that's why they love you.
So we have a lot of ground to cover today, but I want to start with this. I took the day off for the first time in a very long time, and I went outside and I had this vision of everything I was going to do. And I stepped outside, and it was like I got a 3rd-degree burn from the sun. I was like, nope, going back inside. This is way too hot. So I ended up just watching episodes of The Walking Dead for hours.
Joe, at least you could have, like, I don't know, prefaced our time together with like maybe a happier option instead of like doom and gloom for the world. But
I thought the post-apocalyptic kind of time frame would be good for our conversation tonight. And we can kind of talk about your favorite CF items that you'd bring in an apocalypse. Assuming you have like a steady supply of like enzymes, because otherwise it just wouldn't go well.
Unless I don't know, there's some way out there in the world that we've come up with a way to not need enzymes, but I have not found that, nor do I want to try and be the one who finds that. But if I have a steady supply of enzymes, let's see, I think about this often. I think about like I like chatted about this a little bit. Like if something crazy goes on, and all of the supplies are shut down, I think maybe we had a little bit of that when COVID first started, that we heard that like drugs were going to be hard to come by, and we're all like, what are we on? That's, like we're not going to be able to ship over from India or like wherever. But I would have, so I'm on prednisone. So ibuprofen would be at the top of my list. Don't tell my doctors that. I hope they're not watching this, or my pharmacist or my nurse right now. My unhealthy consumption of ibuprofen. Yes, I know the risks. Thank you, viewers. I'm glad that you're worried and concerned about me. Ibuprofen and prednisone. Like those are gonna make me through. Like get whatever time needs to be achieved. Whether I'm stuck on an island and I don't know, like have to spear my own fish to survive, I feel like I could take enough prednisone to make myself believe that I can do it.
I agree. Or with enough prednisone in your system, you can probably jump in and catch whatever fish you want because you will be that hyped up.
I feel that, or if I'm in a situation where I have to run really fast away from something, again, prednisone, even if it's a lie, Joe, it's gonna like briefly make me believe I can be capable of doing anything.
I agree. Hey, I'd like to take a moment to just remind people that the stories we're telling and the medical opinions expressed herein are not medical opinions, nor are they the views of the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, and we encourage you to seek your own medical advice. We are not doctors and cannot tell you what to do or what to do in the apocalypse. Okay, so I just felt like we should say that.
No, I'm glad your lawyer mind never shuts off. So.
You are an individual with CF and you are a musician. Can you tell us about your story and your journey in becoming a musician and living with CF?
Yeah, I don't know how much time we got. Like we're gonna have dinner and a movie too when we do this. Yeah, so it started way back when, and it actually did start really way back when. I had an older brother, Joe, who also had cystic fibrosis, and I remember, I had to be probably like 3, maybe 4. And the closest CF center that we had around here was about 7 hours away in Iowa City, so the University of Iowa. And we would have to drive to get care. And my brother was so sick that he would spend weeks and weeks and weeks at the hospital. And so my mom would stay with my brother, and my dad would like transport us back and forth on the weekends, or to like go pick up my mom and my brother. And my dad really is the one who instilled unknowingly a love of music into my life. And my dad was obsessed with music and loved music. So we would listen to the best of 80s ballads all the way across Iowa, back to Northwest Iowa where we lived. And I mean, just hours and hours and hours. And, I was in my like 1989, 1990, like duct taped car seat situation. But, like amidst, what you look back at now as being like a tough time and something that was not normal for a 3-4-year-old or a family in general to be doing. And I think music really was the way in which we connected, but also passed time, but also brought a greater comfort that maybe I haven't realized until, my adult life. Prior to that, instead of me going to a babysitter, my dad loved MTV. Okay. So he also flipped houses on his days off. And so he would just take me with, and he would videotape back in the day, the VHS, MTV, just hours of MTV music videos. And instead of going to a babysitter, he would bring me along and just put the TV in the corner with the VCR and just play MTV music videos all day for me. And as kids would watch cartoons, I would be in our basement in front of our like giant screen. You remember like the TVs of the early 90s and, the big speakers that were like 2 feet. We would just flip on MTV and I would sing along and like putting on the Ritz and the Roxettes, and my personal favorite, who I will go down believing this and fighting anybody on this, the greatest 80s song ever, "We Built This City" by Jefferson Starship. My dad would always tell me, and we have a video of this of when I was probably 2 or 3, singing along to "We Built This City" in front of the TV. I can't even speak words, but I'm like singing to the music video, and I have like actions like "Listen to the radio, don't you remember?" So I can still do the choreography for you. So yeah, so it became unknowingly just a really significant element in my life. And little did I know it would be what I really feel has saved me all these years. A way to escape, a way in which I knew I was winning against CF. And, for better, for worse, there were lots of maybe not healthy ways in which I utilized music to escape to, meaning going to college and even graduate school and it being a fight within myself that I felt like, as long as I could sing this measure, as long as I could do this or prove myself, and be measured against my peers and whether or not I was good enough, and they didn't know I had CF, I had won. If I could do XYZ, if I could be painted like my peers, and that people, would measure me as a musician for the musician I am rather than the musician with CF.
So you undertook a passion where your instrument, your lungs, right, were literally working against you.
I know.
I mean, what was that like for you? I mean,
looking back, it was dumb, Joe. Like, yeah,
or adventurous,
or adventurous in a way that, well, it was a way to escape, and it was also a way to save myself.
One could say you were breathing bravely, but we'll touch on that later. We'll touch on that later.
Yeah, looking back now and being able to see that, like, gosh, I remember these feelings of just not necessarily knowing what to do, but I had to do. So even during, late high school and early college, and most of my professors and such, my voice teacher knew that I had CF, but my professors and cohorts did not know I had CF. And I wanted it that way. because I wanted, again, to be measured by the same standards of all of them, especially in the music world, than being given any special treatment. And it was honestly probably less about them and more about me wanting to prove to myself that I was good enough, I was worthy enough to do this, or that I was stronger than CF always, for healthy and unhealthy ways, right? But I knew during college I'd have, professors be like, what are you going to do with this? Because I did not get an education degree, because I didn't want to teach in a high school or an elementary or in that kind of way. And I didn't necessarily know what exactly I wanted to do or would do. And that's not exactly a great thing when you go to a private liberal arts college and you tell your parents, like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Or you tell your professors, like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I get it. It's very scary. I would be scared too, if one of my students told me that. But I just knew I had to do it. And I remember getting to the end of my undergrad and having to do a final recital and getting done and thinking, my life is over. And that sounds so dramatic, like any musician or artist or creative person would say, like, oh my God, my life is over. But it was this like deafening heaviness within me, that it really did feel like my life was over, because I knew as long as I could feel the breath moving through my lips and that I was forming and working on a phrase or composing a song, I was still alive, and CF didn't own that breath within me. And I did everything I possibly could to run from CF during that. A form of escapism, one that would keep me alive. And I went back to graduate school a few years later, knowing, like, again, I don't know necessarily what I'm going to do, but I know I need to go. CF during those years was being pretty ruthless, was as much as I would try and push away, as much as I would try and outrun CF, it always seemed to be right around the corner and hit me harder. And I know I'm talking to somebody who does something very similar, that will just push through, will push harder. The harder CF pushes, I'm always going to be stronger, so let me show you. But you and I also both know that CF doesn't fight fair. And no matter how hard we push and how strong we really are, sometimes CF just is going to have the upper hand.
Yeah, it sometimes it has its day.
Yes. And so I went to graduate school. Again, only my professor knew, or my voice professor knew, that I had CF. And I was going to go in, same mentality. I'm going to prove to everybody here that I'm stronger. I'm, going to be measured by my voice and my capability instead of what I can't do. CF had other plans, and the first day I had another professor pull me into her office and say, why didn't you audition for this show? And I said, I can't right now. I can't audition for it. And she's like, we brought you here as a graduate student, gave you a scholarship, and with that expectation that you would audition for shows. And I was like, I wish I could. I really want to, but I can't. And it was just, I could see just this frustration from both of us. And I love this professor very much. And I, at that time, had just started a course of antibiotics again, and on a CAD pump, so continuous. And so I call it my European satchel, where it's, like a crossbody bag. And so I pulled up my arm to show my tubing that was attached to me. And at that time, my PICC line. And I was like, this is why I can't do this. And so again, starting graduate school right off the bat of being like, I failed. CF has won, right? Somebody already knows. And, I pushed through. At the end of our first semester, every single semester in the music world, you have what's called a jury. It's a little different in music school than probably law school. Think maybe same firing squad. Anyways, you have to go perform for all of the faculty. And I also was a TA. So I had students performing that were being critiqued and graded. And I remember it was Thanksgiving. I went, performed, got done, and I walked off the stage thinking like, that's right, Sia, take it. Like, I just did it. Like, you will never be stronger than me. And I went to go sit down to wait for my students to come on. And I had that feeling that we all know it if it's happened to you. I call it the like gurgle of death, where you start to exhale and you feel this weird sensation in your chest. And I had been dealing with hemoptysis for years, so I knew exactly what that feeling was. And I said probably an expletive in my mind that I will not repeat for this family-friendly show, and ran to the bathroom, and I had one of the worst hemoptysis episodes I've ever had. And I remember it wasn't me like, coughing up sinkfuls of blood. That was like, oh my gosh, like this doesn't feel like it's gonna stop. It was, oh my God, I'm gonna have to tell them. I'm gonna have to walk out there, and I'm gonna have to have them call an ambulance. And this is what's gonna be remembered. I spent about 20 minutes in the bathroom. I got things to settle down and stop. And I walked out, and they were like, oh my gosh, where did you go? Like, what happened? And I had to tell them. And it was probably like, it still like makes me feel really sick inside. Not necessarily worried about what they would think about me, but more that I was so disappointed in myself, which sounds silly. And if somebody had said that to me, I'd be like, oh my gosh, like you can't control those things. But more so leveling with a reality that I couldn't control. So yeah, and I feel very lucky to have gone to graduate school where I did, because it afforded me the opportunity to have a really small department that really truly cared.
So until around this time, you were kind of, I guess you kind of played it close to the chest with your CF, right? In terms of letting other people in and whatnot. Yeah. And did you experience a change at some point that made you someone who would be willing to hop on a podcast like tonight and whatever this is called? I don't, I'm a little dated to know what to call this, but so did you have a change of thought?
Yeah, and it necessarily wasn't by my choice, should I say? That sounds terrible. I'm like, yes, I'm just getting on the pants, and it's not my choice at all. I think we can all agree there's some days that I wish I could just like close the closet door again and live a life that nobody knows about CF, and nobody, when they see me, don't know about CF or have, this idea of CF on their mind first. But I had, some really great friends. So friends and family, both, I kept at arm's distance when it came to living with CF. Because I had a brother that really went through a horrific, not long enough life, lived with CF in the late 80s, early 90s. I didn't want to watch or have my parents and my family go through that, of what that was like to witness somebody that you care about be destroyed and then just have to stand back and watch. I saw, how it destroyed my family. I saw how his death and his suffering destroyed my parents, their relationship, anybody close to them. And I did not want to be the cause of that pain. And so, I would go into the hospital for weeks at a time, and I would just kind of disappear off the map. And then friends might find out after the fact and be like, why didn't you tell us you were in the hospital? Or like, why didn't you tell us you're on IVs? And I'm like, no, like it's fine. It's just my life. Like it's all okay. And I had a really dear friend of mine. She was my college roommate. And she kept saying to me, like, let me in, let us in. And, we want to do this beside you and with you, and we know what's going on. Like, let us be there. And so it was just like this pestering, and, some other really close friends of mine, kept saying the same things, like, tell us what's going on, like, don't try and like protect us. And this one friend of mine said, you know, we can either walk this beside you or we're going to walk it with you, but at arm's distance. So on April 1st of 2013, 2014, I woke up and wrote a blog post. And it was a way for me to just kind of air my life to, it was supposed to be friends and family, just being like, hi, this is the reality of my life and what it's like living with CF. And it was just kind of a way to introduce them to the complexities of living a life with CF. And I blogged every single day for 60 days straight, which I look back now as I was going to grad school and that was dumb. But Joe, you and I both know if we're gonna do something, we're gonna do it. And it became a way, and that I had hoped originally that would show people that, you know, I'm not really different than them. I'm not really, you know, some poor soul that is suffering with CF, but instead that we all have plights in our life. We all have obstacles and we just call them by different things. We all still feel the same emotions. We all feel pain. We all feel joy. We all feel sadness and that elation. We just call them something different. There's nothing really that separates us. So I wanted it to be a way as not, you know, putting the spotlight on myself, but a way in which we could build true connection and empathy through understanding other people's stories. So that was called Breathe Bravely. And I could have never imagined that it would affect people maybe the way that I had never intended it to. It still is very unfathomable to me.
So the blog was well received. And from that, right, Breathe Bravely, the entity, kind of came about. And you talked earlier about the deafening, I took notes. I don't really know what I'm supposed to be doing, but I'm trying to say, I don't. So
the legal pad, are you taking notes on a legal pad?
Yes. So, but it's a fresh one. So you spoke earlier about a deafening heaviness. And as a participant in Singspire, one of the programs of Breathe Bravely, I think your program very nicely like takes people who maybe are experiencing that deafening heaviness and gives them tools to step away from that and just kind of hear their voice, have some fun, get away from the struggle of breathing, which is what it is sometimes, and kind of get some ownership over the air that you're pushing in and out of your body. And it's a really empowering feeling. And so I think that's really what I hear in your story, because it's not the deafening heaviness that I think I tend to focus on. It's really what comes after that, which is the breath, right? You know, the movement of air and what that means for people with CF, and something as simple, you know, that everyone else takes for granted. You've really focused in on that, and you've shown people this is a very powerful thing, whether you have 30% lung function, 60, 90, what have you. It's a very powerful thing to sit down and own it for an hour each week in a lesson and then practice it each day and strengthen your lungs. And there's actually health benefits to it. So I would be honored if you tell us a bit more about Breathe Bravely and the program.
Yeah, so like you said, starting off the podcast, Joe, about like, okay, so tell me about this. You can't breathe and you're a musician. That's what you like chose. You're exactly right. So that is something, honestly, that I really struggled with as being a musician and trying to prove to not only myself, but everybody else that I was a competent musician. And, you know, who's going to hire a vocalist that can't breathe? Like, that doesn't really bode well. So, you know, trying to move the path of Ashley, the musician, and Ashley, the person with CF, it was hard, and it was getting harder and harder because CF was interfering with my plans to be a musician. So, you know, I kept fighting harder and harder, and CF kept pushing back harder and harder. Later that year, that fall of my second semester, CF like decided it needed its time to shine. It was not so excited about like being the understudy to my life. And I was transferred from our CF center here in Sioux Falls to the University of Minnesota. And I, you know, would usually hover around like 45% lung function. And, you know, you had talked about owning your breath. You know, I've always been a firm believer that it's not the amount of air that fills your lungs, it's what you do with it that truly, you know, brings you life. But I had gone from, you know, like my baseline numbers very quickly to about 25%. And, you know, I think all of us with CF in our mind have this timetable. We know the realities that face us, especially as adults with CF, growing up constantly kind of defying the odds and defying that number that's always been kind of just hovering above our heads. But, you know, I had it planned out in my mind. I know I'd be faced with difficulties, but it was going to be, you know, at that point, 15 years from now, right? Because I was stronger than CF. I could just simply outwill it. I had too much life to handle and take care of and things I wanted to do, but CF didn't like those plans. So, you know, very quickly I was being confronted with conversations that I wasn't necessarily ready to have, and that I was in disbelief that I was having. And I remember, Joe, like being at the U of M and you know, having teams come in and talk to me about like, okay, we need to do a workup very quickly. Things can continue to go south very quickly. We need to get you listed, you know, if things continue this way. And it wasn't necessarily the thought of going through that difficult journey that so many of our peers do. It was the terrible loss of thinking I might never sing again. And I remember, you know, just sobbing, that ugly, uncontrollable, hyperventilating type of crying when you can't breathe is really great. And again, people were like, oh my gosh, I know this is a big thing to think about and decide and talk about. And I was like, it's not about that. It's about possibly never singing again and having that feeling like my life is singing. And again, that sounds like a very dramatic, creative person, like, oh, my life is music. But it really was. And I think it was really at that moment that I understood the impact of singing on my life with CF. And by the grace of God and whomever and whatever, I fought my way back. And that was not part of my story at that time. And probably foolishly, I went back to grad school that January to do my last semester. My professors, my colleagues, my students were absolutely incredible. And again, like the world works in strange ways and puts you where you need to be and surrounds you with the people that you need most, whether you know you need them at that time or not. And I really needed them. And I learned maybe more about myself through them and their kindness and their grace to me than I would have ever come to reason within myself. So that semester, when you go to grad school for music performance, you end your degree by giving a degree recital. And so it's a culmination of like 2 years, and it's, you know, about 45 minutes to an hour of just straight music. And it was up until the end of April that I couldn't even sing, that it was so difficult. My throat was so destroyed. And again, that panicky feeling of being like, am I ever going to sing again? Again, by miracle of miracles, and I don't ever use that term lightly, I gave a final performance. And I remember walking, you know, getting done singing the last note, holding it, and then, you know, like you release, and that gives everybody their cue, like, okay, we've come to the end. And, you know, having that overwhelming feeling like, oh my God, we did it. And, you know, looking out into the crowd and like them also knowing the meaning of that moment, that it wasn't just like, great, okay, yay, let's sign your piece of paper and you be on your way, but it was like, oh my God, singing has saved my life. So I remember standing in the kitchen of this good friend of mine, who was prodding me for, you know, how long to let everybody in. And she said to me, now what? And I think every fresh graduate, that's their worst nightmare to hear. Like, what are you going to do with that? What are you going to do now? What are you going to do after graduation? But she said, now what? And I said, I want to start a nonprofit. And I said, with that nonprofit, I said, I want us to give individuals with cystic fibrosis the opportunity to know singing and how it can affect their life, whether, you know, that allows them to have a greater lung capacity physically, you know, an idea or just perceived gain of being able to breathe, or if it enhances their quality of life, you know, at some point, it's going to change their life for the better. And that is how Breathe Bravely started. And Singspire, I have some really great colleagues and some really great friends that were with me through all of that, and our mutual musicians and teachers. And I sat them down and I said, I need your help. And I thought they would go running when I explained to them, like, I want us to teach people with CF how to sing. Oh, and, you know, us all knowing as teachers, the fundamental basis of singing is breath. I want to teach people how to breathe so that they can sing. And I thought they'd go running the other way, and they're like, okay, let's do it. Let's absolutely do it. So here we are in our 14th session. We've taught over 3,000 voice lessons to individuals all over the world. And 90% of the people who do one of our 10-week programs come back to do more than one. So we have people who have been a part of Singspire for 3.5 years. We have people who, you know, do 10 weeks. They're like, thank you. I feel like I can breathe better. I feel like I've gained a confidence and understanding of my body. And I realize I can sing. And they're like, thank you. I'm going to be on my way. People get what they need from us providing and showing up for the community that I feel so strongly about.
It's an opportunity to kind of create those moments that you talked about at the, you know, your degree recital, right? Where you stand up, you do it, and that's yours. CF can't take that from you. That's your moment. That's it. And I think that's what Breathe Bravely does. It gives people that moment, and it does it time and time again. not just once, not just twice. I experience that moment every time I log in.
Oh, Joe, you make me cry.
You can pretend to cry a little better than that. But it's you know, it's a powerful thing. I think everybody with CF needs those moments. If they don't have them organically, you need to feel like your time is your own.
And that every breath of yours is your own.
Yeah. So I think the Breathe Bravely mission is definitely well received and much needed. So we listened to Blaze of Every Breath at the beginning. When's are you allowed to tell us like the release for the next?
Yeah, it is September 21st at 8 p.m. Eastern time and 7 p.m. Central time, and so on and so on and so on. Yeah, so it'll be a part of our Marathon of Song event that this will be our second year doing that, where all of, you know, people with CF are invited, part of our Singspire program and greater, to take part in this day where literally every 10 minutes, a new person is sharing their story and sharing their voice, sharing music in the way that is most meaningful to them.
Awesome. One theme I've seen is community in Breathe Bravely. And for me, I guess growing up, I didn't have much access to the CF community. One, due to protective parents, and two, just the internet wasn't much of a thing. Now with internet, Zoom, Facebook, etc., there's these opportunities to kind of interact with other people with CF. And, you know, I think you're almost at the center of it all, right? As a conduit to foster all of these relationships. I mean, what's that like for you?
I would hope that it's not about me. That I merely always want to be a reflector of other people seeing the best within themselves and seeing the best within each other. I think what's so great, Joe, about, I guess, being in the position that I very am very honored to be in, is to see people get on a screen and not have to talk about CF at all. And that you can merely look at all of these like Brady Bunch boxes on the screen and know that they genuinely and truly just get it without even saying a word about CF. And I think there's something really powerful about that. Just knowing, you know, we can never share the same space. We can never, you know, go out to coffee and like see each other every single week and have those types of relationships. But it's having everybody feel that their voice is important and that regardless of their circumstance, regardless of their story, regardless of their voice, they have a place of belonging and that they're seen for something so much more than their unique genetics. So honestly, Joe, I would beg to say there are many days, there are rare days, I should say, that I don't think about the gift that is to me, and what an amazing opportunity and gift it is to me to see that and be a part of such an amazing community. And that has nothing to do with me and everything to do with all of you.
I would say you are a broker of community. That's my transactional legal.
I was like, "You're gonna pay me?"
Yeah, you get a commission. It's very nice. Yeah. No, that's awesome. So we've spoken about music. We've spoken about Breathe Bravely, a little bit about your CF journey. I don't actually know this about you. Like, who do you listen to? Like, who are some of the artists that like you play on your? Oh my God, I was about to say iPod. That's not a thing anymore, right? Who do you listen to? You know, in these, you know, when you're hanging out.
Depends what kind of mood I'm in. This is also going to be. I get asked this question quite a bit, not from like people within our community, but I would say students or even friends. They're like, "Oh my gosh, like what are you listening to? Like, or you must have the classical radio station on." And when I'm in the car, I'm usually listening to NPR because I've been hearing singing all day. And so I live in that world of singing all the time. And so a lot of times, or when I'm home alone, it's silent. Just because my mind can't shut off when I'm listening to it then as well. So it's just like, it's a battery that my silence needs to be recharged. But when I am feeling like I'm in that mood to listen to music, it depends on the day. So a lot of musical theater stuff kind of depends what kind of mood I'm in for that. I really love trashy pop music. So, and that, again, that's a way that I can kind of just zone out to the world. When I would commute to graduate school every day, it was a 50-minute drive. And it was a great time because I couldn't do anything else except for listen to trashy pop music. So I, guiltily will say I really love some Sia. I love, Sarah Bareilles is one of my favorite artists. I really love this group it's 3 women and it's called Joseph. So yeah, I like a lot of acoustic stuff. I like trashy pop music. I like musical theater. So it just kind of depends what I'm feeling that day. 80s will always have my heart.
So I know in anticipation of tonight's program, which is another word I'm using to really date myself because I don't know what to call this. I don't know. In today's program, what we're gonna do, I know you've really been studying your New York, New Jersey musical culture. In addition to learning up you know, the way we like our bagel sandwiches out here, the fact that we have medieval times, what it means to go down the shore, various New Jersey things. And I know you've been studying up your New York, New Jersey music, right? So I was thinking maybe I'll relocate and you could try your luck at guessing the artists and the song of some introductions that I will play on the piano of New Jersey, New York artists.
Joe, I feel like I do not give you adequate, for what you give me in the knowledge about Italians and the New Jersey culture. I feel like I will never be able to repay you with my teaching during the week or knowledge. So I am forever indebted to what you've taught me.
And you're learning well, and everyone, for the record, I just want you all to know, I did look into sending Ashley, I think it was a 6-pound log of Taylor ham, and unfortunately, it was going to be it did not make economic sense for me to do so due to the refrigeration requirements and the shipping capabilities of the United States Postal Service and other national overnight couriers. So we're not going to do that, but if you're game for my game, and we won't do too many because the baby's asleep, and if the baby wakes up, my wife will scalp me. So I'll be right back.
Okay.
Next time you see me, different location, Yamaha upright piano, very nice, and we'll see if you know anything. See if you can hang.
I feel like people realize she didn't recognize any of those. Like, why would we? She what? Like, can we see her face? Where are they?
Who is this Ashley? All right.
Okay. Well,
Welcome back, everybody.
Joe, I feel like I'm showing up to a test that I didn't even know was going to happen, or like that. I'm okay.
Hey, wait. All kidding aside, I thought I told you we were doing. Oh no, I didn't actually hit send. I thought I texted you, and then I realized I didn't just now. Hey, guess what? We're gonna play this game. It's gonna be fun. All right. So, all right. Here's the first one. Okay.
I know it, but I don't know the name of it. I can sing like the background to Joe. I am terrible at song names. Can you give me a hint?
Yes. I'll give you the best hint ever. Bruce Springsteen.
I was gonna say Bruce. I don't. I seriously, I can't tell you the name of a song. Like.
All right.
Joe, will you say it for me?
What was that? No. No, there's no singing tonight. So the song is Born to Run.
Oh yeah. Okay.
One of the greatest hits of all time by one of the greatest artists of all time.
Joe, I blame the drugs, okay? Like, again, I'm not advocating that I take drugs, but, like the prescribed ones that have been coursing through my body for the last 34 years.
I thought you were about to launch into some, like, crazy story about grad school. Like, you should have seen what oh, my goodness. All right.
I was on, like, five IV antibiotics at once, and, like...
Just too much ceftazidime. Yeah. All right, so if you didn't get that one.
See, I can see the accompaniment. I can, like, also, Joe, my brain does this weird thing where I can't, like, tell you the name of the song or, like, who sang it. But if it's playing on the radio, I can sing every single word of it for you.
Okay.
And I'll be like, oh, that's Bruce Springsteen's voice. Like,
we'll try one more. Okay. The clue from out of the gate will be it's Bruce Springsteen.
Well, like, seriously, okay. Okay.
Okay. New Jersey artist. He's probably a very famous New Jersey artist. Okay.
Yay! Okay. Blue Jean Baby. No.
No. The Blue Jean Baby is. Oh wait, no. That's why I call it the blues. What? No. Anyway, so Blue Jean Baby would be Elton John.
Oh shoot! I was thinking my dad look-alike. Is Blue Jean Baby really? Oh, Joe, seriously. The New Jersey people will never let me in. Okay, they will never let me come visit. They'll like stop me at the TSA gate and be like,
"Cut the whole thing. This whole thing has to stop. The whole podcast. Podcast. The program. Whole thing. All right. How about this? We'll do a New York artist instead. Okay. The person may even look like your father.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
I don't know, maybe Elton John had a stint in New Jersey. Maybe he has an address from there.
I talked you up to all these people, and then you're like, "Oh, I don't know who Bruce Springsteen is." All right, here we go.
His daughter just. Can you play the chorus for me?
So that one would be Miami 2017. I've seen the lights go out on Broadway.
Well, the lights are coming back on in September, so like...
It is an appropriate song for right now because the lights have been out.
Joe, it's so heavy.
There you go.
Been out in the city.
All right, we'll do one more, and then we'll relocate to my less musical location. This one you got to get.
I'm a failure.
This one you'll get. Okay, here we go.
I'm feeling. You don't even need to play it. I can feel it.
Here we go.
I would like to go with D. Turn. Or E, moving out.
Oh, it's as if someone chatted you the answer. Oh my goodness.
That would be unethical. And I know you have taken an oath of ethics. So
that would not be right. Hey, well done. Let's relocate.
Is the baby up?
I don't know, but I don't want to take the risk. So I'll be right back. Okay, and we're back.
So I don't know if I'm ever going to recover from that. When you see me at your lesson next, I'm going to be like, I don't know anything. Nothing makes sense to me anymore. Like, I don't.
That's okay. Only the entire world will watch this.
Oh. And again, I feel like I'm going to have my little passport to New Jersey and they're going to be like, denied.
You know what? Look, we can blame it on the piano player. It must have been me. It must have been me hitting every note exactly as it ought to be.
Joe, this is going to be a very cringy thing that I'm about to say, but I don't care about the intros. I care about the voice.
I know, but I can't do it. The baby, Aaron, stabbed me. It's a bad thing.
You do have a lesson tomorrow,
But
so I don't want you to be like bleeding out and unable to attend.
yes. Well, thank you for indulging me. So you have some listening to Bruce Springsteen to do, as well as a little Billy Joel.
Joe, let me ask
And
you.
it's not something that's.
How did music play a prominent part of your life growing up with CF?
I tried to play music on the piano, and my mother would tell me to be quiet because it was always during Law and Order. And she didn't like that I played during Law and Order, and I don't know why I always tried to practice during Law and Order, but that's what I did, and she didn't like it. Music played a very prominent role. So in high school, I did musical theater. It was a lot of fun, made a lot of awesome friends, and I had some of those moments that you talked about, not on the same scale or with the same level of stress, but those moments those moments were mine. I showed up. I performed on stage. I got through the shows. I had a lead role. It was really those are my special kind of memories that CF can't take from me. And no matter what CF tries to take from me in the future, those are mine. Growing up, I played piano, obviously.
Were you ever
Go
worried
ahead.
that CF would interfere in a way that you didn't want it to? Being a musician in those times of like in high school performing and having a lead and.
So it did a lot. It made it very difficult. I missed a lot of rehearsals. One time I actually quit a show, and the directors came and begged like me to like get better, and I was like, sorry. But I ended up actually like I had recovered enough. I went. I did the show with a pick line on. And it made those moments even more powerful. But yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, you know what that's about. Even just on the day to day, not just the big stuff. Sometimes it's hard to like, pay attention to what's in front of you because, something CF is pulling at you, whether it's a bad headache or whatever it is. Yeah, all the time. But I think something that makes those moments more bearable now is the sense of community that I'm starting to have with other individuals with CF because of the internet, because of things like this, because of Breathe Bravely, the choir, things like that. So yeah, I think there's power in the camaraderie.
Question for you, just when we started, you talked about not really having a community of other people with CF, for whether that was for just access, when we were growing up, or other reasons. What made you seek out CF community?
I guess some of it was kind of a dark curiosity, just in terms of kind of saying my CF started to downtrend and kind of start to win more battles than I would, and I started to think like, are other people going through this, and what are they doing? How are they coping with this kind of thing? Do they write? Do they have jobs? Do they go to school? Do they have families? Like how do other people at CF get by as a holistic person? And I think that's what made me show up to, I think it was a research con actually. That was like my first attempt at trying to be social. And the first person I ever kind of made friends with who had CF was a guy named Rich. He would unfortunately go on to pass from, he had a double lung transplant and it didn't go well. So within a couple of weeks thereafter, he passed away. That was a very emotional moment because I said, here's this great guy that I got to know. And he was just, he seemed to know it all. And he was, 20 years older than I was. And, poof, he's gone.
Did
But
that,
I
did that affect you in a way though that made you not want to re-enter essentially, or reach out or connect with other people with CF then?
yeah, I mean, it gave me pause, right? But I think at the end of the day, I see people with CF just, I guess, the same way as I see relationships with all other people, that it's better to have a good relationship with somebody, at least for me, in my experience, it's better to have a good relationship with somebody than to not have it, right? Because then you've had the benefit of it. And if it hurts to lose that, I think it just makes what you had, all the more special.
And that much more worth it.
Yeah, that's my take. What do you think? Agree, disagree, think I'm nuts?
Well, when we started Singspire, I had asked my colleagues, because we have a CF center here, and I had anticipated a lot of our students that we would work with, and we would serve through our programming would be adolescents. You and I both have CF parents, we have CF, and our parents have children with CF, obviously. But you and I both know that parents with kids with CF are intense, right? They, for the best of ways, they fight tooth and nail for us. They will do anything to give us an opportunity to live a better life, to be healthier. And so I envisioned a lot of parents being like, oh my gosh, my child has CF and they love music, they love to sing, maybe this will help them. And we have a really large ped center here. And so I thought, okay, we've got a built-in, a program. And I can't teach them though, because I have CF. So I'm going to rely on my peers and the brilliance of them to translate what I feel and how it's benefited me to students. We quickly realized that we live in South Dakota and that it is a very rural area. And we actually don't have very many people in the city here with CF. They all travel from small towns and rural areas to get to the center here. So we didn't really have a large population that could partake in that. And so we were awarded, side note, CFF impact grants. Shout out for them. We were awarded a grant through them to start our program, and they as well had said, we'd been tossing around the idea of doing lessons via video call. And being an instructor by trade, that's actually what I really love, is working with individuals and helping them just realize what's in themselves. I thought I would go to my dear colleagues and my friends and say, okay, we're going to move the entire program online. What do you think? And I thought they would go running and be like, that's not how we teach. That's not how music happens. That's not how you sing. And to this day, they're still our teachers. And they were like, yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll do it. And this was in 2017 when Singspire started. So, think pre-Zoom days of, the COVID era. So, that was a pretty unfounded thing to really pursue. And I really like to think that not only did we do it and kind of pave the way for it, but we did it really well. And that's, a testament to our teachers and their passion for our CF community and their brilliance in their craft. But part of the reason that I wanted them to teach is I didn't want to teach, because I didn't want to know that loss or that pain or that connection with somebody else with CF and have to bear witness to knowing how unfair CF can be. And again, that was more about protecting myself, I should say, than anybody else, which sounds like a very selfish thing at this point. But I did teach then. I started teaching because they're like, hi, yeah, you have CF. You cannot and it honestly has been one of the most cherished and remarkable things that I've ever had the opportunity to do. And the people that I've gotten to meet, like you, Joe, I was just telling somebody else the other day through a conversation about teaching in this type of realm that I've never met, my students. I've never seen like this this part of their body and below. Um, but that I have some of the most cherished and special and best friends in my life in this realm. And it's hard for me because there's been a lot of complaining and a lot of frustration about Zoom in the last year and a half, and how awful it is, and how stale it can be, and how people are so ready to get offline. And I always have to stop them and beg to differ, because honestly, across a screen has given me and fulfilled me with so much life because of the people and the relationships that I've gotten to build and know in this type of a venue, and by doing it via this medium. And so I feel like I'm truly the lucky one by getting to work with a lot of individuals during the week that have CF, but it's so much more than that.
Right. I think part of the goal for this series, right, the breathing experience, is to kind of let people with CF get connected to others by highlighting people like yourself and other, lesser knowns, right? Just people who do their thing, and in doing so, win against CF, right? Each and every day with every breath, if you will. So yeah, I think that's really important and crucial to keep in mind. Ashley, I want to be respectful of your time, but I have one last question for you, if you don't mind. And I keep going back to the phrase you used earlier, a deafening heaviness. So if you now where you are, kind of on the other side of things in terms of Breathe Bravely is up and running, you have these great relationships, you've had your degree recital and all these kind of nice moments that you can kind of stand on. If you could go back and tell the girl who was at her, the jury, who was feeling that deafening heaviness, what one piece of advice, or just let them know something, what might that be?
Joe, I don't know if I've ever been asked that question before. I often look back and reflect on like the path of how I got here. And, at the moment, when professors are asking, like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do with your life? Like, why? And even that internal dialogue, right? That's resounding with you in you and being like, you dumb girl, you can't breathe. Like, why are you pursuing music? But having just that pull an unspoken truth that I just needed to, and how I look at it and how I think I got to this moment is by finally allowing those two paths of being Ashley with CF and Ashley the musician, by acknowledging my passion and really stepping and embracing my truth. I allowed those two places to intersect, and that is where I found my life's purpose and my life's passion. And so, I would probably tell that girl, live your truth. And instead of running away, turn and embrace it.
There you have it, folks. Ashley, thank you so much for joining us tonight on the Breathing Experience. This has been fun. Thank you for indulging me with some of my goofiness. I appreciate it. I'll be there for our voice lesson tomorrow.
I expect big things tomorrow. So I expect to hear all of the vocals to all those intros you played.
Of course. Everybody, thank you for joining us out there. Thank you for your time. Stay tuned. There will be more Breathing Experience to come. Everybody, Ashley, thank you.
Okay.